Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Congressman Jim Cooper. Congressman, before the end of the year, everybody up on the Hill, as well as a lot of businesses, a lot of entertainment groups, were all consumed by this sexual harassment problem across the country that continues to be coming up on the Hill, with some members not seeking re-election, some of them being exposed as people who got these government settlements for harassment cases. But I don't hear much about the bill that you and other congressmen on both sides of the aisle have been sponsoring that would expose who all these folks are and make them pay it back and have a different system for how you handle sexual harassment claims. What's happened? It's gotten real quiet on that part of the conversation.
Well, first, Pat, you know this is a big change in society and a welcome change where finally women will be protected in the workplace. So they should never have been subject to harassment and assault like they have in the past. And it's not only in business, but it's been in politics too. And many of my colleagues are rumored to be guilty of this. And we thought that's bad in and of itself, but it's even worse to have the taxpayers bail them out, and to bail them out secretly. And more folks have been discovered. I thought I knew my colleagues pretty well. I didn't know they were so abusive, and I certainly had no idea there was a slush fund available to pay off the victims. So this does need to be exposed. We need to take the dirty laundry. We need to clean it so that the taxpayers know exactly what's going on. And above all, this abusive behavior needs to stop. We just had a colleague, Patrick Meehan, who decided not to run for re-election the last couple of days. You know, who knew that here's a 62-year-old man calling a 22-year-old very attractive young lady a soulmate? Like, this is crazy behavior.
But why does this sort of stay at the back of the line? I mean, this is an important issue for Congress's own reputation and image. Why isn't it at the front of the line?
It should be at the front of the line. It should be passed into law. But my colleagues, it's a little bit like fraternity justice. They want to take care of each other. They don't want the dirty laundry aired. They don't want dozens of their colleagues to be exposed.
But it does a shadow over all members of Congress.
It does put a shadow over all members. I'm by my co-sponsorship, and I'm on the right side of history. One day this bill will pass, but Speaker Ryan, who's besieged by his troops, doesn't want to be unpopular with them by exposing their misbehavior.
Is it even scheduled in committee anywhere for markup or anything else?
Nowhere. A lot of the reform measures of Congress, you know, Congress is talking about bringing back earmarks. People went to jail for earmarking abuses, and now they're trying to bring it back wholesale. It's hard to believe. Randy Duke Cunningham went to prison. He had a whole bribe menu there. Jack Abramoff. These are names that people should remember because it was a horrible scandal. We don't need to bring earmarks back, but they're talking about doing it. Trump has said he's for earmarks. This is crazy.
Another area that's a major issue in the country that Congress seems to be doing nothing about is the opioid crisis. President Trump has talked about it, but appropriated or recommended no additional money. As far as I know, if there are bills in Congress, you don't hear anything about them. This is a major issue that cuts into all sections of society, yet Congress does nothing.
Opioid abuse is now the #1 cause of death among young people, higher even than automobile accidents. Things like that is a terrible scourge in Tennessee as well. And I'm afraid that what most politicians do is pay lip service, but they don't want to do anything about it. I've put it this way. When I first went to Congress, Congress was largely owned by tobacco companies. They had the monumental political influence. Well, we switched masters once the tobacco companies were humbled a little bit. Now it's the drug companies. And whether it's opioids or other drugs, they have a disproportionate share of influence over Congress. They should not have that influence because we need drugs for life-saving cures. We do not need the drug companies to own the political process, and they do today.
Now, Governor Haslam has a major program he's trying to get through the legislature that would spend, I think, $25 to $30 million in Tennessee, but Tennessee is not an island. Can we address the issue effectively here if the country doesn't address it nationally?
You're exactly right, Pat. It's a nationwide issue. Drugs cross borders. Tennessee became a pill mill center after they were driven out of Florida. It's a nationwide problem, and if you read the books on it, there's one book by Anna Lemke called Drug Dealer, MD. It's incredible the disproportionate role that one company has played in this scandal, which is the Purdue Pharmaceutical Company. And they have sold most of the opioids. They've manufactured most of them, and this is wrong. There are numerous journalism articles about this. It needs to be stopped. And these are prescription drugs. We need to call on our physician friends to stop over-prescribing. That's been a routine habit in the South and a few other parts of the country. And then the worst thing is heroin comes in after that. There's another book that describes what it's like, you know, for the heroin dealers to come in. So this is really a social scourge that's got to be stopped. Trump talked about it in the campaign, but there's really been no legislative proposal to really stop it.
As we close out this segment, I want to ask you one foreign affairs type issue. The North and South Korea have been having some talks. They're actually going to have some joint teams in the Olympics. Should we see that as a sign of progress on the broader issue about North Korea and their nukes, or is that just simply a sideshow for this?
Well, I hope it's progress. I hope we'll have a wonderful Olympics. I certainly enjoy trying to watch some of it on TV, even though it's winter sports that I don't know too much about. But any reconciliation between the two countries would be good. But Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader, is totally flat out crazy. And with his nuclear push, it's really, as the United Nations has pointed out, it's a tragedy for the planet to have a crazy dictator like this get nuclear weapons.
In terms of our ability to have civil defense to deal with this if there was a missile attack, the snafu that happened in Hawaii got a lot of laughs, but it's pretty serious. Do we have any kind of real civil defense system in this country that would deal with missiles coming from North Korea, much less from any place else in the world that might want to shoot a rocket at us?
Well, first of all, there are 3 layers of missile defense: short range, intermediate range, and long range. So Kim only has a few missiles, and they're not very accurate, and we don't think he's miniaturized the warhead yet, but this is a threat.
But one getting through would be bad enough.
It would be bad, but we have 3 layers of defense. And then when it comes to protecting the civilian population in case something did get through, we need to go back to a lot of the things in the 50s where we were practiced back then in some of these things. The system is very rusty today, as we saw in Hawaii.
Better than duck and cover at that point when you were in school.
Duck and cover doesn't work.
Congressman Jim Cooper is our guest on Inside Politics. More issues to talk about from Washington after you watch this break.